facts. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon, everybody. I had to write something down before I forgot it. It's the one thing I don't do is rely on my brain to remember everything. It's just too much going on, right? So, all right, let's get to this. My name's Dion, and welcome to the Daily Trudge. We do this at least once a day. Morning is usually the Daily Trudge. A lot of times I'll do a second one if there's time. Or if I see something going on where people might need help. All right. And of course, if you're here, please say hello, whether you are watching the live or the rewatch. So we get sober. And this time it's sticking, right? All right, I'll wait for people to get on. I thought there were. So if you're on, let me know. And I'll continue on. Otherwise, I'm going to wait for a minute. All right. Oh, we're at the 2-minute mark, and people will catch the rewatch. So, let's go ahead and get started. I know for me, when I sobered up, this time. You know, I've been married. How long had I been married? 2-3 years by that point, I think. But we had been together for 5 when I got sober. When I finally reached sobriety, that was going to stick. And the next thing that happened was, of course, the overwhelming guilt that comes with the realization that your life is unmanageable. That can feel very, very overwhelming, because what you have is you have this big lump sitting in your gut, and it hurts. It hurts. And your brain is trying to figure out, how the fuck do I get rid of this? Because honestly, we do not need to feel more guilty. We don't. I try and stay away from guilt as much as possible, because with guilt comes blame. Right? And I don't like pointing the fingers at other people. I don't like pointing the finger at myself. There are much better ways to discover things about ourselves. And so let's read from the family afterwards a little bit, and then I'm going to go into some of the things that you can do in early sobriety to help with that guilt. Okay? Because there's no reason for you to go through it if you don't have to. I'm not saying you ain't going to feel guilty, but we can do something about that. We can do something productive, and it's probably not what you think it is. Okay? All right. So I'm reading on page 124 in the family afterward in our big book. Henry Ford once made a wise remark to the effect that experience is the thing of supreme value in life. That is true only if one is willing to turn the past into good accounts. We grow by our willingness to face and rectify errors and convert them into assets. The alcoholic's past then becomes the principal asset of the family, and frequently it is almost the only one. Unless there's another member in a family that has an alcoholic predisposition, but they're going to start their own families, right? Okay. So how are we going to do, and I'm going to get back to this. It's just a little bit further in what I was talking about than I wanted it to be. So this is how my sponsor explained it to me. Dion, yes, I know you feel guilty, and you kind of should feel guilty. He's like, but you don't need to. He's like, what you're not going to do. This is what you are not going to do. First of all, you are not going to go and apologize to your wife. You are not. If you do that, you will get into particulars and you will fuck it up. And he was right. If I would have done it at that, all it would have been was frothy emotional appeal. And she had already had enough of that from me. She already had enough of that. It was time for a change. Okay. So I started on what was called a living amends. And what that living amends means is that I become a better person each day. That means every day I wake up and do things that are esteemable, or I move into an area that's better for me. I hit AA meetings, I get a sponsor, start working the steps. Okay. Now, that's not going to quite fill your need. I'm telling you. All right. So here's some suggestions. Go do the dishes. Go pick up the dog poop. If you are a man and you are married, you have a honey to-do list somewhere. Whether they give it to you or not, you got one. So this is what I usually recommend. Go and ask your significant other what needs to be done around the house. How can I help? Okay. So what happens is we get sober and we want to become the head of the family again. And we're not. Okay. I don't know if I'm the head of the family or not. In some aspects, I am. In some aspects, I'm not. That's my wife's job. We have very, very good communication, so we always kind of know. For the most part, we have good communication. So, but what I didn't do is go in and beg for her forgiveness, and I still have not asked my wife for forgiveness. I can tell that she's forgiven me by her actions. I can tell by her actions, right? Yeah, it is with girls. Sometimes they just look at you and I'll be like, why are you looking at me? I know why. You know, and she'll tell me, I can't believe that I really got to marry my high school sweetheart. I love that I have that effect on her because it makes her feel special and wanted and loved. And that's what I want for her from me. That's what I really want. My alcoholic life wasn't a good fit for us. So here's the cool stuff. This painful past may be of infinite value to other families still struggling with their problem. So, yes, this is a family disease. When I got sober, I asked my family once I was at a certain point, and I didn't tell them. All I said was, there is Alanon and Alateen available for you, and I would be happy to take you, or you can go on your own. But all I ask is that you at least try it a couple times. That's it. I'm not saying you have to go. And my kids went for more than I asked them to. And my wife would go to her Al Anon meeting and they got the knowledge that they needed. Okay. They didn't keep going. They had their own spiritual way of doing things. Because some of my kids are normies. They don't deal with things the way that I do. So we think each family which has been relieved owes something to those who have not. And when the occasion requires, each member of it should be only too willing to bring former mistakes, no matter how grievous, out of the hiding places. Okay? See, now we got to be careful on some of the things that we share, because if it involves other people and they are not at a spiritual place for that yet, then we're going to have to be kind of careful, right? Maybe omit some names, change it around. Showing others who suffer how we were given help is the very thing which makes life seem worth seems so worthwhile to us now, cling to the thought that in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession you have, the key to life and happiness for others. With it, you can avert death and misery for them. So, right now, you may be a newcomer and you're dealing with the guilt. Again, it's okay. It's exactly where you're supposed to be. Okay. This too shall pass. It will pass. So let's do some esteemable things today. Okay. First of all, we are not going to take over the household. That is silly. Okay. Do something small. Do the dishes. Clean the bath. Do the stuff nobody else wants to do. Go get it done. Go scrub the damn toilet. Your wife don't want to do that. Your husband don't want to do that. It's time for us to get off our butts, start contributing to the household, not taking over, but asking for direction. That's what I did with my wife. After I cleaned the kitchen, is my thing. I always do the kitchen. And then I asked her, what else can I do around here that would help you out? And I still do that. I'm 6.5 years sober, and I still do that because it's a great form of communication. She knows what needs to be done. And more now, I know what needs to be done. So now I can do it before it happens, before she wants it done. And that's her love language. And that, so you see how all that works? And I didn't have to go and say anything to her. I didn't make an apology. I just became a better person. So once you get to that, I want you to cling to the thought in God's hand, the dark past is the greatest possession you have. Because with it, you're going to be able to save other people's lives. And if you're new right now, that's probably going to scare you. Don't worry about it. You ain't there yet. That's a year away, if not longer. All right? Tell you, there is no need to rush through the steps. There's no need to do that. So, all right. My camera is off by like 3 seconds, and it's kind of driving me crazy. So, that's going to be it for this daily trudge. Thank you, everybody, for the rewatch, because I don't know that anybody was here. So, all right. I'll be back tomorrow for the daily trudge. I love you guys. Peace out.